Chapter 1. The last episode of Crypto & Co. Crypto & Co. was a TV reality series that investigates legends, both modern and historical, with a real-life twist. They hunt down ghosts, famous monsters, and just about anything that the people over the centuries had said they'd seen. This was the last episode of the third season and probably the end of the Crypto & Co. series. Theo Seiko, the producer, was pushing the team because the last few episodes had shown very poor ratings and the sponsors were ready to pull out. It looked bad for the team overall, but well, they had at least one more episode to do, and here they were again, having another meeting to figure out where and what it would be. The whole team was here today in the meeting, and it was not going well. Just like everything having to do with legends, the meeting room was made to fit the role. In the center was the big round King Arthur table with matching throne chairs of what seemed to be carved wood, but were actually plastic replicas. Along the walls were several bookcases filled with seemingly old and very used books. Too bad they were all fakes and mostly empty. What space that was not taken up by bookcases was taken up with well-placed sketches and paintings of different monsters and legends they'd chased down in the series. Leon was the team leader of the 9-person team and was getting rather irritated at all the ideas they had placed on the table that Theo, for some reason, rejected. Of course, Theo could do that. He did control the purse strings. "Okay then, we need to go out with a bang," commented Axel, the lead researcher. "And I have the perfect legend to do it with. It might even save our butts. Think about this. A legendary, naked, blonde with a killer voice who has just been in the news." Axel had the typical bookworm look about him. Average height, rather slim, and it had taken nearly 2 years to get him to stop using a pocket protector in his shirts. "Blondes are overrated," said Jessica, the team paramedic and looker. She had a dark cream complexion and dark brown hair with deep blue eyes. She was good at both looking good and taking care of the team's health and morale. She was also very intelligent and had a few degrees that could make her more money than working here. Why she was here, Leon never had a chance to ask, but he was glad she was, because when things got bad, she was a good friend to lean on. "Not this mermaid. She's got it in all the right places," said Axel and laughed. "I don't see what's so funny," Wilco, the team's lead technical support, said. "This is it. The last episode unless we get more sponsors from someplace else. Plus, we don't even have enough cameras since we lost 2 in the ice covering that Gigakawa in Canada." Wilco was average height and over average weight. He had lost a lot of it in the past 3 years, but you could always find brain food in his toolboxes and backpack. "That would be Guakwa, and we told you there were bears in the area," sniped Linda. She was the assistant researcher and probably the only one of the crew who still believed. She was not really gullible, but she thought there was something to the legends, and one day she could find one and prove legends could be real. Linda was a petite woman with long red hair and green eyes that seemed to bounce just like she did when she walked. "Hey, we're getting off track here," said Leon, sitting up straight. "According to Theo, we have very little money, and a trip to Germany would probably bust the budget." Leon was the football player friend to the Geek Squad, the good-looking hero among the researchers. He was the tallest of the crew with his heavy shoulders and large square chin. His bright blue eyes and deep voice kept his email account full of fan mail. "Look, guys, this is a good deal. Germany in winter is nice, and we will be lucky because there will not be a lot of people in the area of the investigation to get in the way. With the off-season, flight prices will be low too. We can make it work. And well, with all that said, we don't have the resources to go on all out on some third world adventure this time, so Germany is the best deal." Theodore Seiko was normally the warwart, always watching the bottom line in every endeavor. Would it make money? Would it fit the budget? What did the insurance say? Theo, however, was not a very brave person, and more than once he had taken off during a ghost chase or if large, dangerous animals were around. Of course, Theo would have made just a light snack for most predators since he was skinny as a beanpole. Ace James, as usual, had nothing to input into the discussion as he watched Theo suspiciously. Ace was security with a capital S. No one knew his past, but the past had left a rather spectacular scar running down the right side of his face. He was about an inch shorter than Leon, but built like a freight train. His favorite saying was, "Trust no one." And that seemed to hold true today by the way he was looking at Theo. "Well, what is the story, and are we going to jazz it up enough to make it worth it?" Leon did not like getting backed into a corner this way. "Axel just likes it because there's a hot, naked blonde involved." Jessica smirked. "Hey! While we're brainstorming this, how about you do some modeling for our lady here? I have some rocks you can—" Axel ducked under the table as a pencil came flying across it. "Children! Behave yourselves! We have a meeting to get through. You can kill him later, Jessica." Leon smiled. That was sure to make it into their final cut. He was actually getting kind of excited himself. He could already see his opening monologue on this forming in his head. And not that he was against chasing naked blondes. And Jessica, sitting half naked in a mermaid suit on some rocks, was a rather nice thought. He was a man, after all. Axel smiled and continued. "Okay, here are the facts. In Germany, on the Rhine River, there is a place called the Lorelei Fells. The Fells is a rocky cliff that the river forms an S-curve through. The waters on this part of the Rhine are rather choppy, quick, and murky. Over the centuries, dating back before written time, many ships have been lost there." With the full effect of a showman, he continued in a deep, quiet voice. "The locals say that the Lady of the Fells, or the Lady of the Lorelei, sits high on the fells and combing her long blonde hair, singing to the captains of the ships that pass by, luring them to their deaths on the rocks below." On cue, Linda continued. "Some stories say that she is a mermaid or a siren, but most say she's a very beautiful woman. The descriptions of her are very consistent. Long blonde hair, very light complexion, rather tall, and no clothes. She is known to come out late at night or in the twilight hours to sing her song, and it is impossible to resist." Leon knew his cue. "What makes this case so interesting?" Linda continued. 2 weeks ago, a barge carrying chemicals mysteriously ran into the rocks of the Lorelei. The barge was equipped with sonar, lights, and all sorts of safety equipment due to its cargo." She paused for a moment, letting the information sink in. "The captain and the first mate were the only crew, and both were lost in the accident, even though the barge took over 20 minutes to sink. According to the news, local authorities have yet to find the body of the captain or the first mate, and if they found any evidence to what happened yet, they're not releasing it." "So," interjected Theo, "are the authorities going to allow us to investigate when we get there? I mean, is there a murder investigation going on that will keep us from filming?" "Okay, first, the local authorities cannot stop us from investigating. The area is completely public. Second, the locals have not ruled out foul play as far as the accident or the missing crew is concerned. However, with that said, if we do find something they want, we'll have to give it to them." "Cool. This'll be a new twist. We actually have a story that's not been dead for years to work on. And with some updated information to check out." Leon was getting motivated. It had been hard to get motivated when all the proposals were denied. "Mr. Duro, with all of this said, how fast can we get this show on the road?" James Duro was a wild card of the crew, a serious practical joker. He was a small man with a golden complexion and light brown eyes. Not French, he always said, but very Cajun. He had the ability to talk even the hardest-headed official around into allowing them to go where they needed to be. This talent is what made him perfect for the job as case manager. His only problem was his really twisted sense of humor, which could show up at any point in time during the case. "Well, the travel paperwork should be a piece of gator stew. Permits for the equipment not really necessary. And the sleeping arrangements no problem." You could almost see the gears winding in his head. "However, the local sheriff might not be so easy when it comes to giving the old testimony list. Never met a German that liked you messing in his business." Today it seemed like James was being a good boy. Sometimes his Cajun side could be really confusing. Leon was not sure how easy gator stew was, since you had to kill a gator to make it. "I can get in contact with the local news stations to see if they want to give up any witness list or film material. But back to your first question, we'd be able to get this show on the road in about 2 days." "Okay, with that taken care of, we need a list of the other German legends in the area. Maybe we can jump onto something in case we don't have enough footage on this one. Since it was normal they did 2 legends per episode, this was not a must. And it would not be the first time they did an entire episode on one legend. Leon looked at Linda and she smiled. On it already? We have 3 or 4 interesting ones we can have ready by the time we leave. Linda was gleaming with anticipation, so Leon was sure that one of the possible stories had to do with elves. Leon had a good team and he was happy with them. They worked well together, even though this was probably the last time that they'd be working together. He personally did not see that they'd be getting any more funding for another season. It was just not what the public wanted. They were getting tired of the same faces, and well, there were just so many legends to be chased. He was really scraping the bottom of the barrel on this one when he thought about it. It was not like chasing Bigfoot or Yeti, where the majority of America knew what you were talking about. This was just a dusty old legend that was probably based on a few drunken sailors that got caught on some rocks from a lack of attention on where they were going. Hey, what the heck? If it was easy, anyone can do it, he thought to himself. Well, guys, what do you think? How about we get busy getting it together and we can do this again tomorrow? Same time, same place. By then, we should have all the details ready and be ready to go. I personally cannot wait to do my monologue. Leon did not suppress his laugh this time. Naked Blonde. This is going to be interesting. It was very late in Germany, and Yuri was speeding along in his brand new BMW. Well, not actually his. He was just a driver being paid to drive cars from one dealership to another. It was a cool job for a young man, and he liked it. His boss didn't care what he did as long as the car arrived undamaged at its location. This time it was really panning out. He didn't get much money to drive, something like 20 euros a shot, but it was all across the palm and no taxes. That meant a lot in Germany. He had the heat on high because it was very cold outside. The roads were clear, but you could never tell this close to the Rhine. And he didn't have enough money to pay for this baby, so he was taking his time. The area was really nice. He had moved here with his parents when the wall fell, looking for a better job in West Germany. That was a laugh. His father had gotten a job in a German factory rather quickly, but that as far as it had gotten. It seemed like there were no good jobs left, and the system held to turning its own, not bringing on new people. Unless, of course, it was to pay them pennies an hour in some sort of apprenticeship program. It was almost a St. Gorhausen, and the Felsen loomed dark in the background. He was on the Felsen side of the river, and almost to the point where he could make out the dark ridge of where the barge had gone down. Yep, just around this bend, he thought to himself. He wondered for a moment how the accident had happened, but was ripped from his thoughts as suddenly standing in the middle of the road was a person. He reacted without thinking. His brain registered that it was a woman as he careened into the guardrail. The impact was mind-numbing, and he heard the grinding of the front quarter panel when it hit the rail, and the airbag slammed him in the face. Totally stunned, he heard himself say, "Scheiße!" The car hit the rail and spun into the middle of the road. As his senses returned, he felt his heart pounding in his ears. Luckily, his side of the car was undamaged, so he could open the door and get the bag off of him. Verdammte Scheiße! Scheiß Ding! He opened the door and freed himself from the airbag. Shaking himself off, he quickly spun to find the woman that had caused the accident facing him, and very naked, not 20 meters away. Is alles okay? Kann ich Ihnen helfen? It was so cold. How could she be standing there naked? She opened her mouth as if to say something, but it was like music filled him, and the whole accident fled from his mind. Still singing, she beckoned for him to follow, and as she walked through the guardrail and into the water, Yuri had no intention of not following. She was everything to him, and his last thoughts as the waters washed over his head was, ecstasy. Across the river and from her window, Gretchen watched as the young man entered the rolling waters. She had been startled by the crash, even though she had not been asleep. She reached for the telephone, wondering how she was going to explain this to the Polizei. She knew this would happen. He had told her so. She wondered if he knew already. Well, it would not hurt to call him after she was done with the Polizei. She enjoyed talking to him. It was not often she had company at her age. He would listen to her and listen quietly to what she had to say. Maybe even ask how she was doing and if she needed anything. Yep, He was very polite. She would call him first. This is the end of The Lady of the Lorelei, Chapter 1 by Alexander Stone. Thank you for checking it out and tell me what you think. We're on Facebook.